Welcome to the Market Mystics podcast. I'm Joshua.
I'm Kim. Let's dive in. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Mystic Monday.
Welcome.
We used to do this all the time, and the title of it has gone away, but the heart behind it has not. It's turned into Mystic Monday and Mystic Thursday.
Yeah, now it's just mystic. Now it's just mystic every day. And maybe on the rare occasion, we'll still talk about Bitcoin and our deep love for it.
Right. True. Josh, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. I was telling Kim right before we started recording that I am working on like the process of doing kind of like a 5-day detox for my body, just helping it expel stuff and be able to get rid of some old so that I can hold some new. So that's what I'm working on.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
I know that it is probably not all pleasant, but are there any parts of that process that you do enjoy?
Okay, not the actual like detoxing part, but like, you know, our bodies hold memory on a cellular level. And I don't think that I think it's almost impossible to create real change without changing the story at a cellular level. So I think detox is important to get the old story out, to make space for whatever you want the new story to be. And in many, many cases, the new story is you get to sort of just pick it. Like you sort of get to pick what you want the new story to be if you're intentional. If you're not intentional, then the new story is just going to become the old story. Like, because your brain is geared to take the easiest path to wherever you're going. So if you come into a situation that seems similar to something you've struggled with in the past, and you're not intentional about changing to a new story, your brain's just going to pick the one it's always known. So I do think, although it's not fun, detoxing is important because it helps you change, but it also just helps you change the narrative in your mind.
That's super interesting. Okay, well, that's not the topic of today, but I did want to ask about it because it doesn't sound pleasant, but I would imagine there has to be some life in it somewhere. Right?
Yeah, there's definitely life in it. Yeah. Wouldn't keep life. Going back to it if I didn't. Maybe. I don't know.
So what are we talking about today, Josh?
Yeah, so this conversation was spurred by just a conversation I was having with Bree, my wife, and we were talking about the future and just talking about like thinking about the future, dreaming about the future. We were specifically talking about Bitcoin and the financial systems and the kingdom and these things. And I had a realization, which I shared with her, of like, I didn't even really know how to dream or hope for the future until I became a mystic. And that, like, it was profound to me to think about, because I dreamt about the future, like dreamt about getting certain jobs or getting married and having kids or like whatever that might look like. But it was just like, oh, I guess it was more shallow dreaming of the future. Sure. And like now when I dream about the future, I'm dreaming about like systemic change and just like change. Like there's a hope and a dream for the future that is much bigger than I am. And I think that shifted like pretty substantially when I became a mystic. And I don't exactly know why. Like, I don't exactly know what that unlocked, because there's people in the secular world who dream huge dreams that are outside of themselves. And there's people within traditional churches that do. And so I don't exactly know what it was that triggered it in me, but it was like that moment that did.
Hmm. I wonder if it has to do with limited thinking. I mean,
Mm.
obviously limited thinking, but even just in how your faith was constructed before versus how it's constructed, where you're actively seeking the outside the box things. I know, at least in my experience, and I can't speak for you, Josh, but I know, at least in my experience, my traditional church experience had been very in the box. Here's the box. Here are the parameters. Here are the rules. Here's what you do. Here's what you don't do. Here's what you believe. Here's what you shouldn't believe.
Right.
Those kinds of things. And I'm not even bashing that. I just think it was limited. And I think one of the most freeing things about the mystic movement, or like just simply looking outside of the box, is that we're actively seeking the mysteries, the things that haven't been unlocked yet, the things that haven't been revealed yet. And it broadens perspective so much more than just trying to stay within the box and keep it tidy, which also means that it can get kind of messy. We could be messy mystics, but it happens. And there is order. I think that is actually the way of the kingdom, is order, but sometimes things feel chaotic and sometimes things feel out of control when they're brand new.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. Anytime I've had a change of maybe core belief, um, it has felt very chaotic walking through that. And then it's like you get to a moment and it's like, oh, okay. Like, now I am seeing the reason, I'm seeing the picture. It's okay. Um, I was thinking while you were talking, like, it definitely was to do with like belief systems and where I'd come from. But a big part of it was um, my life in traditional Christianity was like, you're going to live your life here, and then either you're going to die and go to heaven, or Jesus is going to come back and take you to heaven. And is kind of like almost like Earth is just like the waiting room for something different.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kept me from thinking about anything more. And so I think becoming a mystic and having that belief change of like, oh, they're like to steal Kim's line, heaven is now, heaven is for now. And that like that changes the way you approach life when you're not waiting for a savior to come and rescue you from a situation. Then then you can do things.
This is so true. Just that line, you're not waiting for a savior to come and save you, to rescue you. I think that when you take that out, when you stop thinking that the only way to go is down, that when we stop thinking that, then everything is limitless. There is no ceiling. There is no limit to what we can do. And I think that's powerful.
Well, and don't get me wrong, I needed a savior, and my savior came and my savior saved me. But that's not where the story stops.
Right.
Like,
but it also makes you not be a victim of your circumstance.
For sure.
Right. Yeah. It is a take charge of your circumstance. It is a lead the charge.
Mm.
It is a go explore, discover, seek, find kind of positioning rather than the position where things might happen to you and then you need someone to do something for you to then eventually get to where you want to go.
Mm.
At least for me, I think that's kind of part of the shift. It made it now. Like that line, heaven is for now, is because that kind of really shifted things for me. It was not a waiting for the end so that then it is a no, let's do this now, because then we get to go further. We get to see the new. We get to experience all the things, and it just opened it up, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I stopped waiting for something to happen. And instead of like waiting for Jesus to come rescue me out of something, it was Jesus asking to partner with me to do something about where I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
When we were talking about this before we started recording, I'll tell you, it's an interesting thing because we were talking about like the whole topic of this conversation is hope for the future, right?
Yeah.
But I got real dragged into like relenting the past, or I don't know. I think I have such a hope for the future that I really don't want things to regress backwards.
Mm.
And I really want to see people not coming into something new and then trying to reel it in so that it fits into the old.
Yeah.
And I think if I have a fear of anything, which I am not somebody who actually tends to be fearful, I've kind of overcome a lot of that in my life. But if there is a fear for humanity, it is that we reel it in and try to take it back to the old instead of actually trudging forward and finding the new and living in the new. Because I think that's where my hope lies in the future, is for actually moving forward, not dragging it back.
And I think that's an important distinction, is we're not waiting for um, we're not waiting to take something back to its former glory. We're actively pursuing the new, like the bigger thing. Let's make it better than it ever has been. How can we dream for a brighter future than it ever has been?
Right. I don't know why I have this example in my head, but I do. So I'm going to talk about it, even though I know very little about it. Have you ever seen rock climbers who they scale like huge mountains where they take turns going and finding the anchor points?
Oh, okay. Sure.
So it is like one person goes ahead and is kind of free climbing because there's no tethering above them, and they go find the new anchor point, and then the next person comes up. Sorry for that thumbs up. The next person comes up to that point and can go beyond it and find the next point and put in the anchor so that the first person can then go to that point and go higher.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what we're talking about. And I think it is like communally, like, Josh, I hope that you go further than me so that then I can use that as an anchor point to go further than that. But also, I think if we look at the life of Yeshua and how he even made the statement that you'll do all these things and greater than me, right? I see him as one of those anchor points. And I don't actually think that he's stopped moving. I don't think he's stopped functioning. But I do think that there's some of that concept of setting new anchor points to see how much further we can go. And again, everything comes back to this recently, like, what is the need of the body? What is the purpose of community?
Yeah.
Right. But it's to be able to set these new anchor points and continue to move forward. And then if somebody stumbles and falls, they only fall back to the last anchor point.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's such an important way of, well, I think we get to pick the narrative. Like, we get to decide how we look at the future. And if we look at the future as, oh, I get to do this with a whole community who's climbing this. And if I fall, I'm only going to go back to where I was. And I'm not going to crash clear down to the bottom of the mountain. Like, how much easier is it then to like continue climbing or to try the next like free climb?
Right. Yeah. And I think if I go back to my fear statement, or really it's the concern, I don't want to see people stay on the ground just to watch other people climb.
Mm.
And I don't think it's sinful. I don't think it's like bad. I don't think it's evil. I don't think any of those things. But I just think there's so much life in doing it and like participating. The view from the place of actually climbing is going to be significantly different than the view from just watching other people climb. Yeah. And the experience that can be had in it is significantly different than remaining at the bottom of the mountain and seeing it happen versus actually participating in it happening. And I guess that's what I'm getting at. I want to see people actively participating. I want to see people actively going after their own relationship and their own experiences so that the rest of us can benefit from what they've done and what they've learned and what they've experienced and the revelations they've received. And I think I just think it's valuable. I think that experience is so valuable to us as a whole.
No, I totally agree. I've said this several times lately, but like, I think God is the one who invites you to adventure. And I don't think he does it alone. I think you get to do it in community, and that like it's safer, it's more fun, like it's more exciting to do things together than it is to do things all alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's more hopeful. Like, it's easier to have a hope when you're like, oh yeah, like I get to do this with all the people that I already enjoy. Okay.
Right. Yeah. I think it's good. And I think there is a lot to hope for. If maybe we can be willing to look outside of the constraints of maybe walls or parameters that either we've built around ourselves or have allowed others to build.
Yeah. No, that's good. I feel more hopeful than I did when we started this conversation, which I think is good.
Full disclosure is because I was such a downer. Like, I'm just like, I have such a hope for people, like what I was talking about, like people just be on the mountain as well, do the climb as well. Yeah. Firsthand experience that I might have been getting a little negative about.
I think we both were, but it's all right.
It was like pulling back the what is it called? The slingshot.
Oh, yeah.
We pulled it back so we could really propel ourselves forward.
Worked.
It worked.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, well, on this mountain climbing experience. Thank you guys for bearing with us and being with us in all of this. I hope you found some value in it. I hope it encourages you to go ahead and make that new anchor point and allow others to come on the journey with you too.
Good. We'll see you guys next time.
Hey, thanks for listening. Keep up with us along this journey by liking, subscribing, and becoming a member through YouTube.
Members get exclusive access to bonus content with our guests, deeper dives into topics, and a look into other projects. We're glad to have you here. See you next time.